One of the two amusement parks in Coney Island in Brooklyn, New York. We're the smaller of the two, but not necessarily the lesser, I like to think. The other one being Luna Park, which is owned by Zamperla. But I wanted to thank you guys for having me back. I really enjoy this. Like, you guys are close friends. I consider you like family. So anytime you guys are in the park, please ask for me. Just go to the Wonder Wheel and ask for DJ so I can say hello. But today I want to talk about Wonder Wheel maintenance. The Wonder Wheel is 105 years old, coming next year. And Amy, vous parlez très bien français. Take care. Anyway, so Wonder Wheel time. That's the Wonder Wheel. Claim to fame is it was built in 1920, and it has it's a Ferris wheel, but it's also kind of a roller coaster. So when RGCDB lets me, I can say that there's 16 more credits there. Because each gondola is slightly different. Like the wheels on the Wonder Wheel, no two wheels are the same, no two tracks are the same. So that's a little, we can't just like a roller coaster wheel replace a road wheel and put another road wheel in. It has to be the same one. Or we have to make up the difference in spacers and washers. So first, I have to give you an update on my kids. So we're going to talk about Scully.
And it depends on what track.
Scully came to us because my wife went to Costco. And my kids are obsessed with the dark ride. So she said, my son William goes, "Mom, we have to get this for Coney Island." So I get a phone call. I'm at work. I get a phone call. It's my kids are shouting, yelling in the back, "Dad, Dad! The body's in the back and the head's in the front." What are you talking about?
Hispanic ranch.
Let me shut that cursor off. So, yeah, I think we should just keep them there. Maybe my wife can get away with the HOV lane. But yeah, this is how I grew up. This is how my kids are growing up. We're very lucky. But again, more with the kids. Almost had them taken away from me again. This is a picture. I don't know what it's of. I don't know if it's a pound of whatever. Maybe it's a taco. Yes. My wife does Taco Tuesdays. You're right. Thank you. I don't know, but it's happy. Right? This is a happy child in a happy home. Oh, I went the wrong way. That's a scared wife. That's what happens when I'm home. That's what I get to see. Ah, he's back. No. But anyway, that's son number 2, Stefanos. Happy, normal picture. Normal picture. My son William, I opened his take-home folder from things that he brought home from school that he did in art class. We got the skeleton. We got something saying ha ha ha. A tombstone that says R.I.P. and a Frankenstein with ghost saying boo. This is his homework assignment, by the way. He showed his teacher this. Next day, art class continues. He's got a pretty accurate rendition of our dark ride. Again, handed this into class. I'm telling you that, it's pretty accurate, but you've got all those ghosts and goblins. If you really look close, it doesn't look happy. And then he brings home this. He made this in school. Everyone saw him make this. He says, "Dad, I did this so it looks like blood. I put these so you can hang them on the fence. And I asked the teacher for red construction paper. This way when it broke, it looked like brains were coming out."
Wow.
So, anyone have kids go to parent-teacher meetings? I went to parent-teacher meetings. I get there, I sign in. She looks at the name. There were people ahead of us. She goes, "No, you guys can come in now." Seriously, so we get in, and the teacher sits down. She goes, "Is everything okay at home?" And we're like, "Amusement park." Then, "Oh, okay." So now, like, everything's understood. They didn't take my kids away this time. But, anyway, back to the presentation. So this is our shop. Above us is our kiddie section. So the kiddie section is actually on level 2, and our shop is on the ground level. So this is where we take everything apart. You see all the Wonder Wheel gondolas in the back. And every year we take the gondolas down and they get completely refurbished. So you see that, we're right next to the ocean, so there's a lot of saltwater corrosion, so everything gets primed and painted. This is our crew changing wooden planks on the seats. Those right there, those steel things, those are the shafts that hold the gondolas up. They get taken apart every year, and if that's my kids, tell them no more props for the dark ride. But anyway, we take these apart. They get NDT, non-destructive tested, so they get X-rayed, and we check for subsurface cracks. We haven't found one. We've been NDTing since like the 90s when it became a thing, but we still check them every year. Might as well check something. Here are the gondolas, and they get taken apart every year. These bushings get measured. The one thing that we did when we took over in the 80s is it used to be steel on steel, and we added like a plastic coating to the wheels. It kind of makes it a lot quieter, a lot less wear and tear on the Ferris wheel. We check these axles here for wear. They get replaced once every like 15, 20 years, depending on wear. And the gondolas are a lot like a suspended coaster. So the gondolas are going to sit underneath it, and then the wheels are on top, and it goes on like a roller coaster track. So one day you might get credits out of this thing, I'm telling you. So I was up last night, and I was thinking about it, because I noticed, and I said this in another presentation, that we've got upstop wheels here. It doesn't go upside down, but there's still upstop wheels. So I was like, when was the upstop wheel invented? Because I know it was John A. Miller in 1919. This was built in 1918.
Wow.
So I'm like, ooh, what came first? But they probably didn't put the cars on until 1919, so it's interesting. It's like, the upstop wheel was a roller coaster invention, but here it is on a Ferris wheel. Anyway, just something I was thinking about. So here's my brother Teddy. We're putting the gondolas on after the winter maintenance, and that's his supervisor, Ringo. And on the other side is my father, Steve, with his supervisor, Abby. Abbey for Abbey Road, Ringo, Ringo Star. Anyone get it? Yeah, see what we do there? Yeah, crazy Eagles fans, but I'm proud of it. And it's my father putting in one of those shafts to hold the gondola up. And these are just maintenance shots. And what we're doing here is they're like a perfect fit. They have to go in just right. So sometimes you got to hit them a little bit, but you never want to hit steel on steel because you put an edge on it. And even that little edge, that's it. That axle won't fit. So there's a brass pin in between, so we hit the brass. This way the brass will give, not the steel. More maintenance shots. Maintenance shots. You see us like moving the car just a little bit from side to side so that shaft can line up perfectly. Again, it's 104 years old. They didn't have computers. You just had to make it work. And that's what we're doing. We're making it work. And more guys put it up. One cool thing about the swinging cars is there's 4 bolts on each side to give the car stability, because unlike a normal gondola, it's not going to rotate around that shaft. It has to stay fixed in order to swing. So when people say they're dangerous, they're actually safer than the other ones because you have multiple points of failure. Because even if this wasn't in, these bolts would be enough to support the car as it goes around. And then there's springs tied to them that act as like dampeners so that it doesn't vibrate too much. And this is the original drive system that they put in 1918, opened in 1920 when the Wonder Wheel opened. And it's a lot like a train, right? You click it, it hits one speed. You click it again, it hits another speed. Now the way it worked is it would go from 0 to 20% without any hesitation, and from 20% to 40%. So it was very rough. Now the wheel was built to design that 100 years ago, but technology advances, we decide to put an inverter on there. What an inverter does is it uses a computer to change the frequency of the motors. Back then, the only way to do that on the old drive system is you used to take that extra energy and bleed it into a resistor. It worked, but it was very inefficient. It created a lot of heat, and again, it was like very, very jarring. So now with computers, we can ramp the speed up slowly. So we had one built in, I think, 2001, and then after Hurricane Sandy, which was that big flood that we saw, that everything got flooded out. So I told my father, I was like, give me a shot, let me see if I could build one, because when I was trying to rebuild it during Sandy, I was like, I think I could do better. So these are pictures of the one that we built on site. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, by the way. That's why if you look close, you can see things get rearranged. Don't tell anybody, don't tell our inspectors that. But yeah, it's all well thought out. Totally know where all those wires go. But again, so I'm going to show you guys something. So we have a PLC here, and we also have mechanical latching relays. I'm going to get to why I put both in a second. Here's the control panel being built. A lot of wires to just stop and go, but anyone who knows me knows I'm a crazy Star Trek fan. I don't know, I always mention this, but if you look closely, we've got warp speeds here. It's warp 1 all the way down to warp 9. We've got impulse drive. We've got auxiliary power relays. All right, now I wanted to be able to say auxiliary power because of the show, but it's actually functional. So if I click that switch, I bypass the main start and stop buttons that work off the PLC, and I use these backup buttons that work off those mechanical relays. So just in case the computer fails, I won't have the speed control, I won't have the different kinds of braking, and I won't be able to automatically stop it in a certain spot, but I can still start and stop the ride. So it's a simple system, but sometimes simple works. So if all those computers fail, I just turn a key and I switch back to a non-computered system. And that's my control panel. This is the ladder logic. Anybody who's looking to get into this industry, learn ladder logic. If that's something you want to do, I mean, everything runs on that now. That's your safety system, that's your PLC, programmable logic controller. Learn ladder logic, and don't copy my code. I'm just kidding, I'm probably wrong. I mean, if you show that to somebody, they'll say, what is this guy? Whatever, but I don't know, that's what I did. And if you look, I think this is warp speed, yeah, there's warp 6 right there. And if you look, it says Wonder Wheel 1701 right there. So yeah, and that's 1701A because the original revision was no autopilot, so that was just regular 1701. Yeah, sorry about you Star Wars fans, but anyway. So here's the main engine room for the Wonder Wheel. This is the main gear coming off the motor. Back up until the 1990s, this was made out of rawhide. So it was never steel on steel, because back then they figured it's better to have like a dampening gear in between the two. So you had, so now we made it plastic. And we used to change that rawhide gear every 2 years. Now the plastic one we put in the late 90s, we haven't changed it since. I know, it's pretty cool. And the good thing about plastic, you have plastic, metal, and then the metal transfers plastic to metal. So there's always a buffer, so we never have to touch this now. That's it, it's self-lubricating, it just doesn't wear out. So anyway, the power gets transferred from high speed to high torque. It goes across this top shaft there, continues to the brake, and then this shaft continues to the actual Ferris wheel. It's the only place we have metal on metal is this gear to the Ferris wheel is both metal on metal, because, you know, there's a lot of weight there. But this metal is softer. So I would say we get about 50 years out of that gear before we have to change it. Pretty good. And that's the brake. We have multiple brakes. Everything on the Wonder Wheel is redundant, even the PLC. There's a main motor and there's a backup motor. So if that motor failed, we just turn a key on that control panel and we switch to the backup system. Completely new gearbox, completely different motor. So if anything fails, there's always a redundant system. And it's been 105 years since my family took over in 1983. We've had zero downtime.
No.
Once in a while we have to change one of those wheels, 5 minutes. That's it. We have one ready for every car always, so it's a 5 minutes, pit stop. I thought you guys would like to see this. It's the original patent. So again, John A. Miller got us beat by a year because it wasn't patented until 1920. But that's the original patent. We found him like, oh, I got to show this to you guys. And here's my father when he first took over. 1984-ish, probably that picture, and there's me in the same spot. And I'll get to why that's a cool picture in a second. All right, so I'm going to tell you guys a secret. Now, the other Acers know this that I talked to at the other presentations, but only Acers know this, and family. So don't tell anyone, I'll get grounded. You have the axle. And the whole Ferris wheel's connected to the axle, and all the weight is at the ends, so the end holds the wheel up. Here's a picture from the World's Fair. So you see, that's your A-frame. Your A-frame is that part that's like a triangle where the axle sits on top of, and that's what supports the weight. Let's see what happens on the Wonder Wheel. Is it going to be the same? Maybe. It looks exactly the same, right? Here you have your axle. And here's where all the weight is, right on that A-frame. The secret, it's cracked. Ooh. Dangerous. No, so it cracked in 1920. It was a failure. The wheel failed. They messed up. Garbage, throw it out, we give up. No. Star Trek II Wrath of Khan, they don't believe in the no-win scenario. It's all related, all right? So what did they do? This is them in 1921. No, it's 1921 from the buildings that are around it. And they're up there working on that axle. They're repairing it, but they know it's going to crack again. So what are they going to do? They added this part here. Well, that part was there, but they added something to it. If you look close at the A-frame, you see this little piece right here? It's kind of sticking out like it doesn't belong there. It's not part of the original structure. We're going to call that the casting. You see this part here? They put a running surface on it. So instead of supporting the weight from here, they shifted to support it from here. It's a lot bigger. And this running surface is going to run into this casting here. I'll show you guys. So see, they put a running surface here like a track, and it goes into this casting. So now these castings have 9 wheels on each side, like a smiley face. It's a lot like a cement truck. If you ever see the cement trucks as they're turning, it's the same principle. They're just turning on wheels because it's so heavy it can't support a single shaft. That's what they did. They shifted the weight from there to here. And those are the wheels that it runs on. And I'll show you guys. So instead of supporting it from here, they put the running surface, and as this comes down, it comes down into here, and those are the wheels. So it's just turning on a bunch of wheels. Now, they put that in 1920. So far, so good. No more cracks. So those are the wheels. And you can see it go now as it's turning. That's a commutator. That's where the electricity passes through. So you see it turns into these wheels. And you can see it turning slowly on those wheels. There you go. So that's where all the weight is being supported now. That axle is floating. We had an inspector come up and say, your axle's, no, let me explain to you how it works. So there's no weight on here anymore. Nothing. Pretty cool. And there it is on the other side. It's turning on those 9 wheels. There's 9 on each side. Now, how long does this stuff last? It's been 105 years.
Wow.
So, let me show you guys one more time. That's it on each side. You see the A-frame? And there's the track that we weld on there every 8 to 10 years. And it wears out. So every 8 to 10 years, we have to cut that out with a torch, and we put a new piece of steel. It's a small, thin, 7/16 piece of cold rolled steel. That's our wear surface. And that gets cut out of this and then re-welded to it. And there it is, re-welded again. There's a whole process, but I won't bore you with that. And those are the wheels. And here's now, those rollers, they also need to be changed. We get about 35 to 45 years out of them, but they do need to be changed sometimes. How do we do it? You know, you've got 200 tons sitting on each side. So what we do is, you see, this is our main axle, the one that cracked. And this is this is what it's sitting on. You see those spacers in there? So what we do is we put this jack underneath the axle, we lift it up, and then we put 1-inch spacers under there, effectively lifting the wonder wheel 1 inch on each side. Wow. So, and that little jack does it, which is pretty cool. The way they used to do it is they used to weld another band on that big roller, and it used to go into the wheels, and it would like a shoehorn it up. But we decided when we took over to put the jack there, it's a little safer. So we jack it up. Now, the weight's off the wheels. See it? You see the daylight? So now the weight is on that axle. Now the axle can support the weight of the wonder wheel. It just can't support the weight of the car swinging and all that other stuff. So now that we've got it up in the air, we can take this apart. So there's a split here. They have 5 of the wheels on one side and 4 of the wheels on the other. So we split this, and then we kind of push those wheels out, and then we're able to change them. And the day before, some of that stuff's been in there for 40 years. We've got to loosen all the bolts, we've got to prep it, and we do this the day before because on that day we want to lift, take out the wheels, we want to, once it's in the air, that's it, you got to get it done. So we're prepping everything, we're taking all the bolts out. They're inspected every day, but some of them haven't been taken out for 40 years. That's us on the other side. They said it wasn't going to be windy. They lied. They always lie. They know we're doing it, and they make the wind. But, yep, so then we're ready to go. That's one of the wheels getting taken out. So that was so cool about that picture is that was when my father did the job, and the other picture was when he sent us up there to do the job. And that's those are all the old wheels, and there was no wear on them. They were still good. Like if you look at these, you see some wear. That happens within the first week when it's trying to find itself. Other than that, these could have lasted another 30 years, I think, to be honest. But Father wanted us to check them out, know that we knew how to do it before, So he sent us up there to do it, and that's it. We just put a C-clamp on there. We lift each wheel out one at a time. If you guys have any questions, just heckle me or do whatever you want. We weren't even going to change the brass bushings. So there's brass bushings that go in here. We weren't going to change them because they were fine. There was, when I say no wear, for 40 years there was no wear on those things, and that's without the wheels on one side, and you see that one still had the wheels. See how we separated it so we wouldn't have to lift as high. And then we're popping in the new wheels. Each one's about 90 pounds. And we can't call Zamperla for that. Not that we would want to. No, this is top thrilling by itself. They're my friends. I let them make fun of me too. But anyway, we're putting the new wheels in. And so we had to have them made in a machine shop. And they have to be perfect. And even though they're made perfect, they're still a little off, so we measure each one and try to figure out where the bigger one should go. And that's us popping them all in. And that's it. That'll be fine for another 50 years probably. So the next time I do it, my kid maybe will be doing it. Or after I just threw shade at him, maybe the Zamperlas will take over and it's like, we're going to do it now. So now we're bringing the two pieces together. We hook up what's called the come-along. We put it on one end, and we just bring everything together. And once it's back together, we pop in all the bolts. And then I put my kids on there to ride it. Do we what? We have a pulley system. Before we had a lift, we had a pulley system, so we used to counter with a counterweight and a pulley. But now we rent a lift for the job. We've gotten a little spoiled, as my father says. It's like, I used to have to carry it on my shoulder. It's like, yeah, the whole story about having newspapers around your shoes instead of shoes. I have to hear that all the time. Oh, we didn't have those welding machines back then. We had to do it with a match. Whatever. But those are the new wheels. And there's lunch. Notice who gets the cushy chair. All right? We're all sitting on the side of this table we stole from a McDonald's, and the dog is on a cushy chair. And I'm a big Star Trek fan, so to see Sir Patrick Stewart and Ian McClellan, and Leonard Nimoy was there that day too, but he left early. I know. But anyway, that's what I've got. Any questions? Yeah, shoot.
How late is your season?
So our season is till Halloween. So we're every day Memorial Day till Labor Day, and then weekends only until Halloween. This year, I think we're going to open March 29th. We're still talking about it. We usually open Palm Sunday. Whenever we open, Aces are free that day. So whenever we have our opening ceremony, check. I'm not sure when. I wish I knew. I'm sorry, guys. But as a way to say thank you. Yes, it was the right slide. Okay. I was gonna say it's either that or my kid doing something. But thank you, because it really means a lot for me to be here. And to be honest, it's more than a friendship. Like to come here, I don't know how much I can talk about, because I'm from a park a long way away in a state far, far away. But that's not Star Trek.
We're in 3 hours.
But thanks for having me, because it kind of inspires me. I see you guys as a partner in really making the parks a place where all people, regardless of where we're from, where we pray, or who we love, can come together and play.
Yeah.
And all right, don't take one up for me, for you guys. And that's what's so great about being at the parks, because you can see people from so many different backgrounds laughing together. And it reminds us that there's more that unites us than divides us. Because let's face it, we live in a pretty divided time right now. Don't buy it. Don't let people tell you to hate. Look around the room. There's a lot of love in here, a lot of kindness in here. And that's because you all found one thing. One thing. That's all it takes sometimes, is one thing. And you use that one thing to stay humane with each other in an increasingly inhumane world. So, the world can learn a lot from you guys. Remember, sometimes all you need is one thing in common and you can not be so angry. So, thank you for reminding me that my job is about bringing joy, and you keep doing what you're doing because the rest of the world can learn a lot from you. Thank you.